Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Maverick here with another episode of Gleipnir. So, yeah, last episode we got into the basics of the story, which is humans are able to transform into these sort of doll slash monsters, and apparently a lot of people can do this, so it's not something particularly unique to our main character, right? There's a lot of these different people out there who can do these sort of transformations. I assume in this episode we're going to learn more about this other world that lives under the surface of the normal world, right? Beyond that, one thing to mention is a commentator actually reminded me last episode that Gleipnir is actually something out of Norse mythology. So apparently it's a sort of chain crafted out of impossible materials well, I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I'm just thinking, what is the relationship here with this anime title, right? Now, considering that humans are able to transform into these pseudo-monsters, perhaps this Gleipnir is something that's, it's important in the context that it's sort of bounding them, it's binding them, it's not allowing them to go berserk and whatnot, and maybe still having your own conscience. At least that's my initial interpretation about this. So yeah, anyways, we are in the midst of a enemy attack on Claire and Shuichi, so let's see how they manage to repel it. Alright, so it seems that this anime is going for the opening in the very beginning sort of format, so as usual I will skip it. I skim through the opening just to make sure I don't miss anything, but beyond that, let's just jump right into the episode in 3, 2, 1, play. Okay. This is a gal. Oh, there's the coin. Hmm. Alright, so this is the vending machine that we've been seeing so much of. Kick it? Of course. Yeah, starting to transform here. The coins? Oh, so that's how. Do what? Ah. Alright. I guess it makes sense in a sense since she isn't really some sort of, from some sort of organization or whatnot. Yeah. Well, not quite, but I can totally see why you would think that. I thought that in the last episode as well. Oh. I mean, you already have some supernatural powers, superhuman powers. Yeesh. So is this sort of a metaphor for because he's empty inside and in reality as well? So really, it's just through a series of lucky coincidences that they managed to figure this out. Like, who the hell would want to step in there? What? I feel like this is a pretty weird metaphor for a lot of things, but. Hmm. Really? Alright, so how exactly are you guys gonna do this? Ooh. I wonder who feels the pain. They both? Ooh. Alright. Oof. Ooh. Nice. I gotta say, the action is actually a lot more impactful and fast paced than I was expecting. Oh. More like boxing. Damn. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, Shuichi's probably not gonna let Claire kill her. Ooh. Oh, that's not a good answer. And there goes her chances of of competing. Ow. hoo. Wow. They still pretend they don't know each other. She's... Since you're walking over here anyways, why did you need to call her? Why do you have to be in your underwear again? It must have happened someday. Oh, Nature. Yep, her sister. So perhaps she was. It was true when she said she was preparing to kill herself. Right. Last as I said, probably something happened to her family member. What's she gonna do? She gonna fall? Dang. Damn. So it only happened in this town, actually? Hmm. Half a year earlier. Huh. Your brother? What? What? Well, I wasn't expecting that at all. Alright. Okay. I will see you guys after this. Alright, so things did not quite go as I expected in this episode. In fact, a lot of my assumptions were wrong. So the enemy was not actually part of some larger organization, or, this isn't really a... She's not really in the know about anything, if you will. So, originally I was thinking that perhaps this entire setting is sort of like a game, sort of like Darwin's game from last season, where maybe Shuichi and Claire are just inadvertent, collateral damage from other players that are playing this game, who are utilizing the coin, utilizing the token to to gain these powers and fight for something, right? I thought it was more of that kind of story, but apparently not. So it seems that it is isolated to this town, from the dialogue that they were talking about. Anyways, I mean, you have to go to the vending machine, right? And I think by what they're saying is that the vending machine only appears here, right? And then once you put the token in, that dude will show up and apparently grant you powers, something like that. And speaking of which, so at the very end there, where we can see a girl with the little the little mascot character on her necklace or something, or a good luck charm or something like that. She was talking to the guy from the vending machine, right? I do believe that girl is probably Claire's sister. I went back and listened to her voice, as well as the voice from that blob that Claire was talking to in her flashback. I think they are the same person, and so I'm going to assume that that is Claire's sister for now. So it also kind of surprised me that she already had some sort of connection to Shuichi. I thought it was going to be a case of Shuichi's Shuichi's sister or something like that, but apparently not so. So lots of things that are taking me by surprise, and I suppose that is a good thing, right? It keeps me on my toes. Not really sure how the story is going to continue on. Now, in terms of the episode itself, well, first of all, obviously, lots and lots more ecchi stuff, and innuendos as well, going from all the different deliberate poses, posing in her underwear and whatnot, and then all the different camera angles to do panty shots. I mean, it's whatever, right? We knew this was ecchi coming in from here. We pretty much had a feel for that from the first episode as well. I will say, though, that, back in the first episode, I said I don't mind this as long as it isn't to the detriment of the story. And in fact, speaking of these, these sort of ecchi animations and whatnot, I gotta hand it to this studio. The animation is a lot better than I originally expected. This is it's a work that has an ecchi tag. It's not really that popular. It's in and the studio Pine Jam isn't really one that has done a lot of good works before, right? So all in all, all signs pointed it to being a pretty mediocre animation. But it's actually much more well animated. The fights are much more well animated than I was expecting. We have to remember, we're not using any magic here, right? It's not a case of like having magic projectiles flying back and forth and whatnot. It's also not an actual sci-fi anime, so it's not like a mecha or whatnot where you can have these sort of cool things happening on screen. It's really, even in this episode, the abilities, there's no abilities. They're just using their raw power and strength and speed and whatnot to land punches and kicks on each other. And the thing I love about animation like this is that the blows and the blows and kicks and whatnot, they have real impact and power behind them. And so that's when you can tell that, okay, this is, you know, really well animated, because you can literally sort of feel it by just watching something happen in the anime, right? And not only the blows themselves, but the wind up, you know, the punches they're throwing, the kicks they are putting out, it's all fluidly animated. It's not a case where it's, you know, a lot of jumps back and forth. You know, you could I mean, you guys should probably know what I'm talking about. So, say for instance, when you kick someone, you know, they literally have the guy standing in front of the kick, so you don't really see the kick being animated, and then you just literally see a guy flying out, right? And so it's a very simplistic way of doing the animation. Here, no, you're seeing the wind up, you're seeing the kick, you're seeing the punches being pulled back and then going forward, and the same with the kicks as well. So I gotta hand it to, I was definitely not expecting this level of quality, and much appreciated here, right? They can, if they keep up this level of animation quality in the fights, you know, who cares if they have put in lots more HE shots and panty angles, right? Fine with me. And beyond that, of course, there's also all the innuendo in this episode as well, particularly with Claire entering into Shuichi. Yeah, definitely having some sort of reverse, you know, reverse innuendo there, which is, I guess, a bit hilarious if you think about it, right? You know, I don't really think it's something that particularly turns me on. I just think it's really funny to see them sort of have this take on this situation. And so yeah, that is in regards to the animation for this episode. And then let's talk a little bit about the characters, right? So Shuichi and Claire. So Shuichi, he's adverse to killing. I mean, you know, what's new, right? We have this sort of weak, kind male main lead. In this case, however, I will say that I actually give him a bit more of a pass than I do to a lot of other MCs in other shows, because I guess technically, you know, he wasn't they weren't really needing to kill her, kill the enemy in this situation. I kind of forgot what her name was. It was Ikawa, I believe. Yeah, so they didn't really need to actually kill her, although, you know, from a more, how should I say it, from a more pragmatic standpoint, then yes, they probably did have to kill her, because considering that their abilities can only work while they are in tandem together, and considering that Claire is literally just a normal person with no abilities at all, if they actually let her go and then she wanted to get revenge, she could easily, you know, find them, take out them whilst they are not together, right? So yeah, I guess pragmatically it is best to kill her, but you know, it's not a case in other situations where, you know, the character is literally about to be killed and yet still refusing to actually act in self-defense or whatnot. So I give Shuichi a bit more of a pass here, and I gotta say, I give this work props as well for them actually killing off Hikawa, right? It was quite a brutal scene as well, right? Claire literally broke her leg first, and then a point blank shot to her abdomen, right? Well, that was quite the execution, I must say. So I could totally get why Shuichi might not be able to stomach this, considering all things considered. But it will be nice to see him maybe gradually get used to it, let's say, which he should. I mean, considering that, you know, the one thing that kind of surprised me is that since they talk about themselves, whilst Claire is inside Shuichi, their emotions are also linked to a certain extent as well. I would have thought that they would have this sort of understanding of each other already. So Shuichi might have felt the I guess the different emotions, the fear, the elation, and the excitedness, and so on and so forth, whilst Claire was in the battle and eventually killing Hikawa off. And on the other hand, Claire should have been able to feel Shuichi's fear and hesitancy and so on and so forth as well. So yeah, that's something I feel like is kind of weird, considering, you know, the ending dialogue that they had with each other on understanding, not really knowing the feelings of each other and whatnot. But okay, I guess I'll let it pass. And then we got Claire, right? So it seems that in the first episode, her suicide was definitely deliberate. She wasn't expecting anybody to save her. You know, this is a girl who basically says, "Okay, I've had enough. You know, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. I can do whatever the hell I want and I give no shits." Right? If I die, I die. If not, then not. I Although that in itself is also kind of weird, right? So I'm assuming that she was searching for her sister for quite a while now, or maybe she has just simply given up on the situation, so she just wants to end it all, right? But you know, because it seems more like she is, you know, she literally said here, right? She wants to find her sister. She wants to find out what happened to her, if she has any, if she has a way of reverting back or whatnot. So I don't quite get why that entails that her wanting to suicide. If you want to suicide, then suicide, right? Why have this? She's sort of in this limbo state where, you know, it's okay if I die, it's okay. I don't really care, but I would like to find my sister, right? So I feel like these two can't really coexist at the same time, so there's probably another part to the story that we haven't gotten yet. Like, I can totally understand if you have lost all hope in life or whatnot and you want to kill yourself because, you know, your family is broken up and so on and so forth, then that is one thing, right? But it seems that she is pretty bent on trying to find her sister, so I feel like that in itself is a sort of conflict with each other. But the one thing I did like is how she basically took advantage of Shuichi's kindness in this way. So, I mean, the sort of a very reluctant male lead, and then only acting out because he wants to save the female lead. You know, this is a trope that is very, very much used, right? Even, you know, I was talking about Evangelion last episode, similar to how Shinji and Asuka and all that, you know, sort of reluctant main character, and then an overbearing female lead as well. You know, considering even then, back in Evangelion, so Shinji didn't really want to pilot the Avis, right? He only did it in the end because, back in the first episode, because he wanted to save Rei. He couldn't bear seeing Rei being beaten up anymore. And so that's, you know, out of kindness of that, he decided to do things that he didn't really want to do. In this case, however, they're sort of twisting it a little bit, and instead it's Claire that's holding herself hostage and being like, you know, I'm not in danger right now, but if you don't do what I say, I'm going to kill myself, right? Which is an interesting take on the situation. It's basically the exact same trope, honestly. It's still taking advantage of the male character's kindness, but twisting it and using a sort of different method to arrive at the same sort of conclusion. So I thought that was a pretty nifty sort of take on the situation. And, well, hopefully Shuichi can get into it a bit more more quickly. I mean, at the very least, they didn't really have a big you know, he didn't really have a big breakdown in this episode, which I was literally getting ready for him to do. Like at the end, you know, so having a breakdown and then you know, yelling at Claire and then so on and so forth. But I guess in the end, this works as well. So yeah, basically that's it for episode 2 of Gleipnir. I definitely like this episode a lot more than the first one, actually, especially considering the animation as well as learning more about the story. So, I mean, I'm still on the fence about whether or not I want to make a full series of this, but so far, I gotta say, for the second episode, and knowing about all of this, I'm leaning more towards continuing on. So there we go, that's it for episode 2 of Gleipnir, and I will see you guys next week. Until then, bye bye.